There is a great deal to learn about all the different sorts of scales, so we'll keep limiting our discussion to just one type, the major scale. Let's begin by reinforcing some of the concepts introduced in Part 1. Scales are musical ladders or staircases of related tones, either ascending or descending. There are 12 major scales. Everything we learn about one major scale may be applied to all 12 of them through a process called transposition. More about that later. On to the C major scale. With its root tone of C, there are a total of 7 primary tones in this scale: C, D, E, F, G, A, B, plus the octave of C. Also, the scale tones can be written as notes on a treble staff, like this. You should try playing the same notes on your piano, as shown here on the keyboard. Go ahead. Good job! A major scale is a string of diatonic whole tones and diatonic semitones arranged in a specific pattern. Whole tone, semitone, whole tone, then whole tone, semitone again, or WWS, WWWS. Can you hear the difference between the whole tones and semitones? These 7 tones correspond to the French solfège system of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. The position of the semitones is here indicated with a circumflex symbol. Notice that there is no piano key between the diatonic semitones of mi and fa, nor between the ti and do. The interval or distance from the prime tone of the major scale, do, to the second degree, re, is 1 whole tone. From the second degree to the third, re to mi, is also 1 whole tone. But the third degree to the fourth, mi to fa, is only a semitone. This first group of 4 diatonic tones is sometimes called a tetrachord, the prefix tetra meaning 4. Continuing through the tones of the major scale, from the 4th degree to the 5th, fa to sol, is 1 whole tone. Then begins a second group of 4 tones, another tetrachord, following the same pattern of intervals as the first one. From the 5th degree to the 6th, sol to la is 1 whole tone. From the 6th to the 7th, la to ti is another whole tone. But from the 7th degree to the octave, ti to do is only a semitone. Another tetrachord. We see again that in the major scale we simply go through all the tones from one tone to the next without changing or coloring any of them, and in C major that means there are no sharps or flats added to the key. Definitely diatonic. In Part 1 we learned that there are 5 secondary tones and that the secondary tones are derived from the primary tones by either raising or lowering them a semitone. In the key of C major, the secondary tones are the black keys on the piano, and as shown here, they each have 2 names, depending on how you get there. This means that when one of the 2 tones of an interval is raised or lowered by a semitone, and its letter name remains the same, it is a chromatic alteration. Remember that. Try this out on your piano keyboard. Play the white keys C, D, F, G, A. Then immediately play the 5 black keys from left to right: C sharp, D sharp, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp. Here, the secondary tones have sharp names because they are derived by raising the natural tones 1 chromatic semitone. They retain the same letter of the alphabet as their associated primary tone. Next, play the white keys D, E, G, A, B, followed immediately by the 5 black keys again: D flat, E flat, G flat, A flat, B flat. Notice that they sound the same as the sharps, except they assume their flat names because they are now derived by lowering the natural tones a chromatic semitone. Perhaps you are wondering, how do we write chromatic notes on the staff? When we want to raise or lower a primary tone by a chromatic semitone, we merely add a musical symbol called an accidental ahead of the note, in the same way we add a prefix to a word to alter its meaning. Here are 5 types of accidentals. Reading from left to right, they are the sharp, the flat, the natural, double sharp, and double flat. The sharp sign raises the natural tone 1 chromatic semitone. Then, to lower the sharp tone back to its natural unaltered pitch, a natural sign is prefixed to the note. Listen to these 3 tones. The flat sign lowers the natural tone by 1 chromatic semitone. In this instance, the natural sign is then used to raise the flatted tone back to its natural unaltered pitch. Listen. So the natural sign does double duty, neutralizing both sharp signs and flat signs. A double sharp sign is used when it is necessary to raise a sharped tone by an additional chromatic semitone. And a double flat sign is used to lower a flatted tone by an additional semitone. This all may seem a bit tedious, but don't worry. We will not often encounter the double sharp and double flat signs until we venture away from our comfortably narrow key focus of C major. We simply want you to get used to the idea that the same note has more than one name, and acquaint you with a few symbols we use for writing the language of music. In tonal music, no tone is an island. Every tone relates to every other tone. The number name or letter name of an altered tone or interval does not change, and when we study harmony, we learn to think of an interval in terms of whether or not any of its tones are altered. Here's one example. Listen first, then find and play these 3 different sixths on your piano. Here is another way of looking at the distinction between diatonic and chromatic semitones. Modifying one of the 2 tones of an interval alters the relationship of the pair, thereby coloring the musical effect of the interval. The word chromatic means color. For example, C to D is a major second and sounds like this. But C to D flat has a different emotional effect. What do you think? Are these chromatic seconds or diatonic seconds? Well, their notes are written on different degrees of the staff, and they have 2 different letter names, C and D. We'll let you think about that one. Here are your assignments. On your piano keyboard, find and practice playing the 2 tetrachords with your fingers. Use both hands. Define these terms. Describe the 5 different accidentals and explain what they do. Then consider the following statements. Subscribe to our channel for future uploads, watch the other videos, share them if you like, and check out the links we've listed in the associated description below. Thank you for watching.